Hello everybody, my name is Ariel Vaughn and I'm with MSBCoach. Thank you so much for watching this video, whether it's live or catching the replay. I'm so excited today because usually during our Facebook Lives we talk about different leadership topics, but today we actually have two of our coaches with us. MSBCoach, we have a variety of coaches with different experiences and backgrounds, and I'm just excited to introduce two of our newer coaches with you all so that you guys can get to know them a little bit better and get to know coaching through their eyes a little bit better too. So today I have with me Tim Smith and Michelle Oliva. Oliva. Yes. And so I just wanted to start off by, how about you guys just tell a little bit about what was your journey to coaching? How has that been like for you all?
Sure. I would say that my journey to coaching probably started actually a long time ago when I went into the Peace Corps right after college, because it was sort of my first look at the world in a different way and seeing things in different perspectives and maybe realizing I didn't have all the answers. And then I shifted into work in international development where there was a lot of that mindset of we do have all the answers, and sort of seeing how that that tension. And so I was sort of trying to put it into words. And I started off, I was also really very career driven. So I was really a driver. And then I started to do more work with local nonprofit and business organizations. I was working with a lot of leaders. And I kind of reminded myself and realized, the answer, there's a lot of failing in international development. And I realized the answers were not within me, but they were within the leaders and the teams and the people who in the communities that I was working with. Mm-hmm. So that's where I would say it sort of shifted to be more of like an advisor role. And then I started doing consulting work, also in international development, but shifting more to organizational development. Mm-hmm. So, looking at organizations and systems and people.
Yeah.
And so as I was doing that type of work, I did more and more work with individuals and their own leadership development, and just really started to love that kind of work. And so that's where, again, as a consultant, you're very much telling people what to do. Mm-hmm. And so the shift was, maybe I could, shift into something where it's kind of empowering the person who is in that role. Yeah. So that's sort of how I then transitioned to adding coaching to what I do.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very intertwined throughout your journey.
Definitely.
Yeah. What about you, Tim?
So I think I was first exposed to coaching in the mid 2000s and went through some very basic rudimentary coaching and training. And I think I used that as a tool for a long time in consulting work and training work. Mm-hmm. And kind of over the course of about a 15-year period, I started to see more and more the power in coaching itself. Yeah. And so pursued some more comprehensive training, and that kind of got me to where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love how both of you, and as with many of our other coaches, it's you all have had different careers or previous experiences and kind of exposed to it or kind of realized the importance of coaching, and that's how you were brought into it. So that definitely helps as a coach.
Yes.
So what do you guys love most about coaching?
So, all right. Michelle mentioned a minute ago just the kind of and I'll use my word, the directive nature of consulting or training work. Mm-hmm. And what I love about coaching is creating an environment of self-discovery. So partnering with the client to really kind of create a space where they find their answers, not I feel responsible for giving them their answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That 100%. I also really love how it meets, which is a little bit what Tim was just saying, meets the client where they are. Mm-hmm. And it is about them. It's about what are they helping them. Either they come to coaching and they know I want to work on this, or maybe they're not so sure and they have to go through a little bit of a discovery process, but it's always helping them, kind of guiding them or helping them shape what it is that they want to do, right, and then helping them get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. It is, I think, training is important and consulting work is important, but there's a different power dynamic,
Yeah.
right? And with coaching, it's very much a partnership. It's about what you say.
It's also really very applied. So we both of us probably do some training and some consulting as well, and it has its purpose, and it's great. I love doing it as well. But it's one of the aspects of coaching is you're bringing real life experiences, real life situations, and they're exactly what you want to do in the moment. So you might even have a plan for a 6-month engagement of what you want to work on, but then something happens in the office and you need to deal with that situation in the moment, and you can bring that issue to a coaching session and actually work through it.
Right, yeah. And kind of speaking about situations, has there been a client that you all have dealt with that had a situation that's been very impactful for you?
So, all right, I'll share this. This comes to mind quickly. I was working with a client recently, and we're about 2 months into a coaching relationship. And she's been really participative and engaged, but I think she was struggling to see, okay, we're doing this, and we're doing this, and we're doing this. And she had a little popcorn moment in our last session where everything kind of came together for her, and she saw how it all fit, and that felt like magic for me. It was her moment,
right?
But I really enjoyed that, so that felt very special.
Yeah.
And I can think of. I was thinking about this question, thinking what's that one story? There's a bunch of stories, and but one that came to mind is working with a young leader for a nonprofit organization, and she was basically the deputy of the organization. And very, very quickly into the engagement, this wasn't the plan, the executive director left, and she had the opportunity to put herself forward and kind of prepare herself for this opportunity to step into this role. And it was just really lovely to be there for her during that process. And she had, I wanted to mention, one of these ideas of, this assumption that all of us, we have everything within us. There's this coactive coaching says, start with the assumption that people are creative, resourceful, and whole. And just getting her first to a place of believing that, and then finding the resources within her and just owning them and stepping into them. It was really like an honor to be part of that process.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. Like, both of your stories are just so great, and it's always amazing to like work with someone and have them have those like aha moments, or be able to like walk with them as they're like going through a transition that's like really exciting and new for them, but like knowing that they can do it and it was within them the whole time. So that's awesome. Do either of you have like a specialty or like an area of expertise that you like particularly enjoy working with?
So I don't know that I'm hesitant to say a specialty. I would say this, an area that I really like to work with, emotional intelligence. I'm a big proponent of the idea that results follow relationships, and at the core of relationships is really emotional intelligence. And so in there, that's where I find joy in my work, particularly with self-awareness, self-management skills.
That's awesome. What about you?
Absolutely, that's definitely a core area. And as a relatively new coach, I am really keeping I'm just open to everything, so I'm really learning, and I hope I'll continue to be like that, where I just keep on not just being in one in facet of coaching, but responding in the moment to what the client needs. Right. But emotional intelligence is huge. Another piece that I was thinking about, the counterbalance to creative is reactive. And reactivity, this idea that so many people within the workplace, we are reactive, and there's a lack of awareness of that reactivity. So working with, and we're working in fast-paced environments too, so whatever way that is that they can to help a client learn to pause and reflect, and either look inward at themselves, or have a different way of looking at the situation. I saw this really cool image, a photo. It was just like in the last day that someone posted on Facebook, and I'll try to describe it. It was like a line of matches all stacked next to each other like this, and on one side 4 matches had been burnt, and on the other side they had not yet been lit, and one of the matches was pulled back. And the idea of when you take a pause, you step back, and what happened? The rest of the matches didn't burn. And how many of us are like, just kind of so reacted to the situation, and it's just something snowballs.
Right.
Where if we could just learn to pause and observe ourselves or observe the situation, it just transforms everything.
Yeah, I really like that analogy.
Isn't that cool? I'm going to use it. I saved it, and it's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And yeah, really, it's powerful. Like
It
that's a big
great.
piece of leadership is
Right.
learning to not be reactive, and what does that mean for you?
Right. No, that's awesome. And just like from your answers, I'm like, you guys just like fit in with the MSB Coach team so well, because like so much of what we do is based off of emotional intelligence, and especially from a lot of like the Facebook lives we've done, we like talk about all these different topics, but then it comes back down to emotional intelligence. Like it's like the base of everything, that self-awareness. And now we have a program that we've been working on, proactive conversations, and like not being so reactive, but like being self-aware and stuff. So I'm just like, yes. You guys are great. So how do you guys view failure? I know it's a tough one.
I think I viewed failure earlier in life very differently than I view it now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost on the extreme of like, I mean, this is a bit of a leadership-y answer, but I don't really see failure that much anymore.
Yeah.
I just see, learning, and I see possibilities of how I could have done something different. But the other piece of this is I don't see, certain situations people feel like there's only one right answer, and there's just I don't think like that anymore. It's really cool when you see that there's more possibilities.
Yeah.
So sure, there's certain things that can hurt us, that can be painful to go through certain failures,
Right.
but it's a whole different perspective when you go through the pain of it. You feel that, but then you also kind of figure out, okay, well, there's something I can get out of this, and what is it?
Right, yeah. Taking it as learning opportunities.
I very much agree. Looking for the opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
We're going to fail.
Yeah.
If we're trying, we're going to fail.
Yeah.
So looking for the opportunity to learn is where the power is.
Yeah. Those are definitely a great outlook on failure, for sure. And so have there been any like common issues or problems that you have helped clients out with? Any like patterns you've seen?
Okay, I think, what, this sounds very basic, but it is a pattern, and I think it is helping people see how they get in their own way. And how, and I mean, it's easy to say that, it's so much harder to live it, even ourselves. But the idea of limiting beliefs and how we just position ourselves to not really get or fulfill what we want. So there's some of that, certainly.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. What about you? Have you seen any?
Yeah, lots of, probably a bunch of patterns. And also, you see people coming at things from different situations. So there's different types of issues that come whether somebody's going through a transition, or they're looking to retire, or they're early in their career. They might bring different issues. But yeah, I think one pattern is finding the way that you are whole in yourself. Like, is this, are you living your authentically what you want to live?
Yeah.
And that could be at some person's a point in life. I really want to invest all my energy in my career. It doesn't. It's not like saying that there has to be perfect balance, but is the place you are, the way you're working, the way you're living, true to yourself?
Okay, yeah, I can definitely see that, and that kind of goes in line with like the limiting beliefs and just getting in your way, but also like knowing like what you want and like what you're gonna be focusing on. What about any unique situations you've handled or that have come up?
I think they all feel a little unique.
Yeah.
And some of them, I guess I could use this as one of the things I love about coaching is, and I'm still learning how to do this, is the intimacy, the trust, and the confidentiality of the situation. Yeah. So, in some ways, yes, we've had all these very interesting situations, and you can sometimes pull a story from it. But I really like to honor. I was thinking of one story, and I thought to myself, no, I want to honor that the agreement. That's a very personal situation that happened to that person, and that's one of the great things about coaching is building that trust, and then knowing that the space is all. We're not going to share any of this. We're not going to go talk to your boss about this, and if they push you to do that, we're going to put that boundary up. So
yeah, definitely. Anything to add?
No, very much agree.
Okay, great.
Well said.
And is there anything like what would be important for a client to like ask with working with a coach, or what is important to like build that relationship?
I think for me, so maybe a little bit of personal experience. My first being on the client end of coaching, it was very directive, and I was being coached without really getting the opportunity to participate in choosing to be coached. And so I think for me, something I would want to talk about when I pursue working with a coach now, it's what's their philosophy? Like, what is their coaching philosophy? Like at a personal level. So I think that's a good way to get some insight into who you're going to be working with.
Yeah. Can I ask you what your coaching philosophy is? I was like, the listeners want to know now.
You know what? I probably need a little more prep time to give you a
I was like, we can go to Michelle first.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the design of a coaching program, I love it when, like what Tim was saying, you're entering into a partnership, and it has to feel like a partnership, so that means there needs to be choice. And so the idea that I would want to make sure that the client felt that they were choosing to work with me because it felt like a good fit. It's like I was mentioning before, the idea of intimacy and trust. And it's the same thing as when you find a good therapist or a good teacher, a music teacher. You really have to feel some kind of connection with that person. And so I would never want someone to feel obligated to work with me. And even it doesn't say anything about me if it's not the right fit for them. So the idea of them being able to look at a few possible options, and maybe just on a piece of paper they can decide on, try it out, or they might want to have a short chat, and then they're really kind of going into the relationship feeling connected.
Right. I mean, because when you're working with a coach, this is someone that you are gonna be discussing some challenges with and intimate things, and you want to have someone that you can trust and have a good relationship with. So,
it's only going to work as much as you lean into it, and you're like you're showing your like vulnerability, and if you don't feel that connection with the person, it's going to be harder to do that. So you hope that you can make that, and it will build over time, but you can usually get, how much can we get just in the first 5 minutes of meeting somebody. We sometimes feel those kinds of connections. So you might rely on that intuitive part of you, or you might want to probe. Maybe you're the kind of person that wants to probe a little bit deeper into their approach, their methodology, their background, whatever it is that is how you want to make that decision.
Yeah, definitely. Did you come up with
Well, I think I'll steal a few of Michelle's words. I think it's really just that idea of honoring a relationship. And what you said, I mean, I'm not going to be the right coach for every client. And I can't take that, or don't want to take that personally. So there are people that, it is a relationship. You're building a relationship with somebody. So I think really just honoring the nature of that. And I think that the other thing that I've experienced is I still have a lot of clients who come to me as a coach looking for answers. They want more of that consultative or a trainer kind of approach, and helping manage or create real expectations about what coaching is and isn't is definitely become part of my philosophy. It's honoring them as a whole person and where they're at, and that they have the answers. It's helping them find them.
And I think I'm also learning how to create that space and that they own, and also that's always first. It's their choice. But then also, how do I give a little bit of a container and boundaries, or help hold them accountable in a way that's not like a teacher, or a consultant. You know, it's very much how do you want to be held accountable,
Great question.
and you finding the right way that they're always in the lead on it and you're supporting.
Right. Yeah. And now that we've kind of talked about like how other people have the answers, then what if you were to go back and tell your 25-year-old self something, what kind of advice would you give?
I thought about this question in advance, and I actually thought of two things, and it's kind of emotional to think about that, because I mean I was in a great place, and I was, you know, I was probably in the Peace Corps and just leaving the Peace Corps, and I accomplished amazing things, and so I'm proud of myself. But also, it was I would say, and I thought of a quote from Aldous Huxley, one of my favorite books. It's called Island, and it's "Go lightly." And there's a long quote. I'd love to read a little bit of it if we have time. But that idea that you don't have to be so serious, and you don't have to hold everything, and just to go more lightly. And then the other piece that I thought is, I would say to my 25-year-old self, you are enough.
That's a good one.
And that idea of what's enough, you know, and that you are enough. You already are enough.
Right.
And those two things, I probably would have just been like, let the sigh, you know, and let go of those things that I was carrying.
Right.
I wish I could have done that, but you know, in some ways, you need to go through. I don't like regret it, and you have to go through that whole process to get where you are. So anyway,
exactly.
I might not have listened.
Right. Yeah. Like I would have heard it, but you know,
but it would have been nice to hear.
Right.
It would have been nice to hear that and to kind of feel it.
Definitely. And what we can do is share that quote in the comments.
That would be
stuff,
great,
so
because it's
love
just
that.
it's. I wish I could have found that book.
And we'll share the book too, so
Okay,
people
great.
can read it. What about you, Tim?
I think, well, it's along very similar lines, much less eloquent. And I think it would just be like, chill, breathe, just breathe, take a breath. Everything's going to be fine. And I think the other thing I would say is, you know, all your plans and planning, it's great. But you can't count on it. You can't look, every time a plan doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. So really just about taking things less seriously.
Yeah, I know that's great advice. Definitely something, you know, like I wish I would have been younger, but also good reminders, like even today, to know those things. So as we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to share, either about yourself or about coaching, or what are some last nuggets of wisdom?
I'm going to let Michelle
I mean, you're making me think about one of these, you know, I was saying, you know, we're as a relatively new coach and learning all these different modalities and things, and there's this concept of polarities, and what you were just saying about, which is that you can have two equally valid, useful concepts that are opposite, and how do you hold the tension and the balance, or the dance between them, and this idea of the balance between planning and improvisation, you know, and so, you know, I wish, you know, at 25, I was such a planner, you know, and I thought I had to have everything worked out, and it's the same of that going lightly is, you don't have to have everything worked out, and how do you balance those two things?
Yeah, that's great.
So again, I think, you know, as Michelle talks, I hear things that really resonate. So maybe a slight variation of what I hear you sharing is to, I think we could all be more mindful of either or. Anytime we're using or as a word, we're setting ourselves up for the dichotomy that usually doesn't exist. And again, we could all be more mindful of using the word should. That's
a whole other story.
It is a whole other story. I agree. A different Facebook Live.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and sharing a little bit more about yourselves so people can get to know you guys and more about coaching. And you guys can find their profiles on our website, MSBCoach.com, or if you want to be connected with them, shoot us either an email, info@MSBCoach.com, or leave a message in the comments, and just leave us some feedback on, you know, any questions or anything that you want to share with us. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.